RKS Pickens Jackson.
Are you ready? Yes!
Now live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
The Out of Bounds Show on 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Welcome in. Good morning. The show is brought to you by the Ribeye, Four Roses Bourbon Old Fashioned at Kessler Prime and the Renaissance. Visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Hope you had a great weekend. It was good to watch SEC football, regardless of who won and lost. It was really, really good. Fun. A blast to watch some SEC football. Wicked performance of the weekend. KJ Costello, 623 yards passing through the air. Will the air raid work in the SEC? Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at Bo Bounds, driven by the Continental Tires at 49 Tire in Richland, Mississippi. And you can always reach out to us on the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line, which is 601-885-3776. We'll have Brad Edwards, College Game Day on ESPN Radio at 9:30. Brad Edwards with ESPN at 9:30 today. And Brad will join us on the Parish Brewing guest line. Try Parish Brewing Cane Break or Ghost in the Machine. Two great beers out of Louisiana. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. I've got the Blakey Blakester with me. He's wearing a shirt that says Bulldog Power.
Let's go.
Next thing you know, he'll have a KJ Costello jersey.
I wish. I'll just get his Heisman trophy.
Okay. Hey. Look, 10 games, who knows what he can do?
What's 10 times 600?
Good Lord.
My math's bad.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, look, if you're going to put 600 up against... Okay, so better defenses you'll face this season.
Right.
Alabama, we would expect. Georgia, I think, is better than LSU's defense. Maybe Auburn?
I don't know. Kentucky's bad on offense. So I can't get a read there yet, although you mentioned earlier this morning that we get Auburn and Georgia this weekend, which is a hell of a football game.
Yeah.
Two top 10 recruiters. Again, Georgia's top 5. Auburn's fringe-ish, around 10. But, yeah, two teams that sign a bunch of dudes. So we'll see what they're going to do, Blake. But Bama, and after that, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think Georgia's up there, and I think Auburn's up there. But, yeah, I don't think you're afraid of the rest of the SEC's defenses. As Mike Leach said, everybody wants to pretend every corner they have is Deion Sanders, but they're not.
Wow. Osiris Mitchell.
You mean Calvin Johnson?
Javonte Payton, Austin Williams, and Tyrell Shavers, who caught one pass at Alabama.
That's correct.
And then you throw in Colin Hill, who had a monster day catching the football.
That's right.
So 5 guys were heavily involved, and there's still Malik Heath out there.
And you actually had 9 players catch a pass, not including Dollar Bill Johnson, who also caught a pass. That would be number 10. Gator Matt's unhappy. He wants us to pump the brakes.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, Gator Matt, your defense looked like garbage.
Yeah.
So let me get into the Ole Miss-Florida game. One thing about Lane and Leach, but one thing about Lane Kiffin is he's a talented offensive guy and play caller, and he's going to get the ball to his playmakers. And he did that on Saturday. Now, they want to do it more consistently, and I get that. But they did some things that really bothered Florida. And Florida has really good players on defense. And so what I thought was interesting, Blake, was, there was some pitching and catching going on. Corral looked good at times, no doubt. Elijah, when you have 227 yards receiving on 10 catches, holy smokes. When you're averaging 22.7 a catch, and one of them was 57 yards, you are a weapon, and you're one of the better offensive skill players in the league in Elijah Moore. So that was good. Corral looked good. Plumlee had a total of 10 yards, I think it was, maybe, in offense. Let's see, 4 rushing and 6 passing.
Yeah, they threw him that pass on the first drive.
They threw 1 for 3. 13 yards total offense.
Yeah, they threw him the pass on the first drive. They had him in the backfield on the first drive, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
It was the Matt Corral show, and I think you saw in that offense, I mean, we talk about how Costello threw the ball. I thought Matt Corral threw the ball really well.
He did. And the game was 14-14, and then the last 6 minutes of the second quarter,
it kind of
into half,
unraveled,
is when Florida did what they needed to do to get some breathing room in the game.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns in 4 minutes. That's tough.
Right.
So that'll. And obviously, we knew Ole Miss's defense was the question mark, but that one, you were in the game, and even almost got back in the game late. I mean, you were trying to make it a 11-point game.
They scored 14 in the fourth quarter. One thing about Mullen, he's not going to keep his foot on the pedal. I don't know why, but he's not going to do it. At some point, it could cost him in a bigger game. I don't know, SEC championship, college football playoff. We'll see, but Kyle Trask was 30 of 42 for 416 yards and 6 TDs and no interceptions.
Yeah,
against the Ole Miss secondary.
Yeah, he had all day.
He did. We're going to go to the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Am I going to Ronnie? Ronnie, good morning. You're on the Out of Bounds show.
Good morning, Bo. Good morning. My most impressive part about the state game was the way the offense played and the defense. They totally surprised me. And you can imagine that the more they play and get used to these new coaches and their schemes, as to how much better they can be. That was a good game Saturday, and I think they was more prepared than LSU, and LSU had just as much to do as State did as far as getting used to their coaches and stuff too. But I still say that the Leach had the upper hand on the coaching staff, and like I said, the defense totally surprised me. It played better than what I thought it was going to play. I was looking for inconsistency on the defense, and to me, I thought they done Zach had them dialed up pretty good. And like I said, the more they play, the better it's going to be. Anyway, all
right, thanks for the call, buddy.
On the win, man.
All right, we're going to stay on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, and we're going to go to RRB. RRB, what's up?
Good morning.
Hey.
Well, I just wanted to give a shout-out give credit where credit's due to all the state fans out there in Mississippi State for knocking LSU off. I said they was going to win, and they did. I was impressed, of course, with the quarterback. And it's always a great consolation, when LSU goes down, if Ole Miss is going to get beat too. So that was a nice ending for the day after I was kind of sitting there sulking over my Rebels defensive play and, couldn't beat Florida. I will say what I saw out of LSU on Saturday, I'm not so sure they're not going to lose maybe 4 or 5 games this year unless they improve. They've already lost to State. Alabama and Florida's going to tear them up, and I could see 2 more losses. This looks more like a Coach Ed Orgeron team than we've seen. So maybe 2020 is fixing to get a lot better. Maybe the Stars are getting back where they're supposed to.
Hey,
Eddie
thanks for the call,
exactly
man.
what he's supposed to.
I appreciate it. We'll talk about Ed Orgeron and coaching on the other side. The show is brought to you by Eye Care Professionals and Dr. Kirk Jeffries and the crew on Lakeland Drive. Blade-free LASIK and cataract surgery. Eye Care Professionals and Dr. Kirk Jeffries on Lakeland Drive, not but about a mile and a half off I-55. More on Eddie O. Oh, good morning. All right, welcome into the Out of Bounds Show. Thanks for making us your SEC football show of choice, 105.9 The Zone. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Huge upset in Baton Rouge, Mississippi State 44, LSU 34, Florida 51, Ole Miss 35. Some other scores that may have somewhat jumped out at you. You know, the way that Auburn-Kentucky game, Kentucky's, oh gosh, they're like Mississippi State light from Mullen a few years ago. And what I mean by that is
not even that.
They're much better in the line of scrimmage, and they're physical, and they can get after you, but they're inept on offense. I mean, for Ole Miss this weekend going to Lexington, you got to find a way. Now, granted, is it 6 or 7?
6.5.
Okay. So, you're a touchdown plus underdog. You got to find a way to win, for sure.
Kentucky is a Cheryl offense, plain and simple.
Yeah.
They're a 90s SEC 5 hog mollies with a big tight end.
And Terry Wilson is just not a good QB. Yeah, not personal towards him, but
he's not in this. I don't think he's great, but I also don't think they're doing him any favors in that system.
Maybe they're taking the air out of the ball and going a little too conservative. That's a great point. So Ole Miss plays at Kentucky this weekend. Mississippi, that's a 3:00 game, by the way, on the SEC Network. Ole Miss, we're going back to back again. Ole Miss played, then Mississippi State played on Saturday. Same thing this Saturday. Ole Miss, Kentucky at 3, and then Mississippi State and Arkansas at 6:30. There you go. And the game of the week, so to speak, will be Auburn and Georgia.
I think so.
Because they usually play late in the year. But that's been a heck of a game for a long time. That's a big deal for Kirby Smart and Gus Malzahn. And believe me, they know all about each other because of how many times they faced each other when Kirby was at Alabama as the DC, and Malzahn was either the OC or the head coach at Auburn. We'll see how that looks. Somebody asked about Eddie O coaching. What you saw last weekend is who Ed O is. That's who Eddie O is. Ed Ogeron, to be a superstar coach, everything has to be perfect. And what the analogy I made earlier was Eddie O has to walk into the restaurant and the table is already set and it looks amazing with all these great looking dishes. And the big New York strip is already cooked and on the plate. And the lobster is beside it, and someone's got a great glass of bourbon, or the wine has already been uncorked and poured, and everything is ready to go, and the lights are perfect, and the music is perfect. For Eddie O or Gene Chizik to win a natty, or have a huge, big season, that's what has to happen. Mike Leach can walk into a restaurant that has been vacant, like Mississippi State's offense for 2 years. Yeah. Okay, Mike Leach can walk into a restaurant that has been vacant for 2 years, and he can make it hum over time, build it out, drop everything that he wants, the menu, the decor, the bar menu, and then boom, he can turn on the lights and he can serve a great meals to his customers. There's a difference. That's why Mike Leach is 100 times better coach than Eddie O. And that LSU staff they coached circles around LSU on Saturday. And Bo Pelini, but look, Ed Ogeron is heavily involved, especially on the defensive side of the football. Obviously, he's the point man on recruiting. He's figured out this model, and I don't doubt that LSU can find what they had last year again.
I mean, Brennan did throw for 340 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, I don't think he was just the end-all, be-all worst quarterback ever. You're just coming off of
I wasn't referencing Miles Brennan in that analogy. I was referencing Ed Ogeron.
But I'm saying when they can, in terms of being able to win, I think they will have enough offense to win games this year.
Well, they're going to be more talented than everybody on their schedule except Bama.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing Vanderbilt this weekend. Obviously, I mean, they're going to beat Ole Miss. They're going to beat Arkansas. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. They're going to beat, several teams. South Carolina. I say that with Ole Miss.
I was wondering, you kind of said that quickly. Does Ole Miss have the offensive firepower?
Ole Miss does have the offensive firepower. It is weird that game is after the battle for the Golden Egg.
It's the last game of the year.
It is for Ole Miss, which is super weird. Mississippi State plays Missouri, which is meh.
Fantastic.
But
walk into the bowl game, walk into the SEC title game with a nice win.
Have you got your Mississippi State Bulldogs going bowling? I mean, I understand that teams can go bowling going 3-7 this year, and that your team is going to win.
We're playing
well more than 3 games, but are you? Do you feel
we're playing 13 games this season?
Okay, all right.
Y'all do the math if you need to figure out what that means.
Lock it up, whatever people want to do.
13 games.
All right.
Understand what that means.
Back to Eddie O. What you saw Saturday is who he is.
Yes.
I mean that's
dude.
The
that
deal.
Scott Linehan thumbprint was all over that offense. First down runs galore. They're going to go back. That's what they said all offseason. 2 things Orgeron's been preaching. The strength of the offense is the run game, and our defense is better than it ever was last year. Well,
all right. Well, Terry said this on the Mississippi Ag text line. LSU's, he kind of disagrees with you a little bit. LSU's issues come down to QB play. Unless Brennan improves in reading defenses and accuracy, the offense will miss opportunities. And I would not say that LSU will beat Ole Miss. Well, I retracted that. I think that could be that's way on down the line. My point is that LSU is going to win several ball games this year.
LSU ran for 80 yards against a defense we were told wasn't there.
So I had buddies. Now, I have doom and gloom Mississippi State buddies.
So you just have State fans?
Basically. And it is incredible to me that there's still that mindset within the fan base, because I think you need to get up and have a different mindset in the morning. But whatever. It's a pessimistic deal for whatever reason, especially what's happened the last 10 or 11 years, and especially football and baseball. But Blake, when you think about that defense, people were like, they're going to be all. Well, LSU had a pick 6, and MSU turned the ball over several times,
twice deep in your own possession,
right, and gave LSU just incredible opportunities.
Well, look, to hold LSU to a field goal, a 3-and-out and a field goal
on the 1 yard line.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was talking about on the fumble.
Gotcha.
When they could have gone up 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a swing play. You hold them to 3, it ties the game at 37 or 34, and you score 10 points to end the game.
Yeah. If
you're Mississippi State, whereas if you give up a touchdown, you go down 4, and your mentality might be different. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I thought the defense played well, but I just think when you look at what LSU did, I understand that Miles Brennan held the ball a little too long, and I understand that his reads weren't great, but the dude hasn't played meaningful football in 5 years, and he was asked to throw the ball 46 times. That's not a recipe for success for LSU this year anyway. You can't run the ball for 80 yards with this offense and be successful.
So
LSU.
They tried to run the Joe Brady offense.
They ran the ball 38 times for 80 yards. That's 2 yards a carry. It's unacceptable.
Right.
They ran it 38 times for 80 yards.
And John Emery, I think, was a 5-star.
Yeah, from
and the
Atlanta.
other kid was a 4-star. No, Emery's from Louisiana. But because Mississippi State thought that they were going to get that was wishful thinking, a commitment from him a couple of years ago. But so what you're saying is they've got to run the football effectively.
You can't
to
run
give
it on
Miles
first down. Yeah.
an opportunity to do the things that he does. But what about that Mississippi State defense at the point of attack?
I mean, it's impressive. The 3-3-5 is aggressive. What did I see? Joe Lee Dunn out there?
Joe Lee Dunn. Zach Arnett. Wow. Somebody's saying that Blake needs to put down the crack pipe. We'll get into that on the SEC Insider Hit. Coming up next, brought to you by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck, #1 Jeep truck accessory stores in Mississippi. ricksprotruck.com. Boar's Head, a premium brand of deli meats and cheeses for the Out of Bounds show. Boar's Head is the go-to for the Bounds family for deli meats, cheeses, and hummus. You can find Boar's Head at grocery stores throughout the state of Mississippi. Boar's Head started in 1905 and is still family-owned and operated. For lunch, a charcuterie spread or game day. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere. Deli meats, cheeses, hummus. Boar's Head for game day.
The Out of Bounds Show is presented by Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools.
Ooh. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. We'll have some more DeWalt Tools giveaways. Brought to you by Ace Bolt and Screw, their new location in Gluckstadt, to go along with downtown Jackson, Tupelo, and Atlanta. acebolt.net. You can find them on Facebook. Ace Bolt and Screw. Welcome in. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good... I was really social this weekend, Blake. I'm good now for about 3 weeks. I was at dinner Friday night. We went over to our neighbors for the games on Saturday. And then I was a little social yesterday, but I'm good for the foreseeable future now. So,
yeah, I watched the games Saturday and Sunday with some people, but that was about it. It was low-key.
Were you jumping up and down on your couch?
Yeah. I mean, Saturday was pretty wild.
Yeah.
It snuck up on you, kind of. I don't think people real like all of a sudden you looked up, and even though State had only scored 3 points through the first, 20 minutes of the game, they still had like 200 yards passing already.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is kind of weird. And then, he's able to hit the touchdown to Shavers, and you're like, man, that was a pretty pass. And all of a sudden he's at like 292. You're sitting there going, hey, he might have a chance to snap this record. And then, 20 minutes later, he's at 623 yards, and he broke a 23-year-old record
by
in the SEC.
Eric Zier?
Yeah, of Georgia.
I remember him. He was one of the first. I'm talking about one of the first in 1990, whatever it was. His freshman year. He enrolled at Georgia mid-semester of his senior year. That's
weird.
Unheard of.
Yeah, that's weird.
Now it's commonplace. Quarterbacks get out, don't go to high school their spring semester, graduate early, get on campus, blah, blah, blah.
Zaire threw for 11,000 yards.
Zaire.
At Georgia through 4 seasons. He started pretty much every year.
Yeah, no, he was one of those kids. If he'd have had a better... Ray Goff was a nice guy, but just wasn't the deal. Anyway, he was sandwiched in between Vince Dooley and Billy Donovan. Did I get that right? Jim Donovan, sorry. I'm thinking of Billy Donovan because I saw over the weekend that he took the Chicago Bulls job.
That's correct.
Okay, sorry. Jim Donovan.
That's your NBA update for the year.
Well, that's all I've got.
Yeah.
I do love Billy Donovan, by the way. He's one of my favorite coaches ever, and he's one of the best coaches basketball, regardless of what level the last 30 years. So, anyway, some people don't like what I said about Eddie O. What you saw on Saturday is what Ed Ogeron is. If the table is not set and everything is perfect, he's capable of losing to teams that he, quote unquote, should not lose to. I mean,
I'll be interested to see what their defense looks like against a team that's not throwing the ball that way.
Yeah, but who is... Okay, I get... But first of all, Ole Miss, Corral, Elijah Moore, other guys...
They're going to sling it.
Ole Miss is going to be able to move... One thing that Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach are going to do... Now, look, there will be some Saturdays where an SEC defense gets them. Okay, it happens. But for the most part, Leach and Kiffin are going to get the ball to their playmakers and move the football. And Lane, you can tell with Matt Corral and Elijah Moore and some other guys, Ely, they're going to do it. They're going to do it well. A&M looks like they're regressing on offense. Auburn was fine, but they're not special. Alabama wasn't playing anybody, so we'll see. On the other side, I thought Florida looked good. They were not as impressive as I thought they would be.
Defensively, I thought their offense looked fantastic.
It did. Again, Dan's just never going to go at fast breakneck speed, keep the pedal to the metal.
Once they get up, he goes Big Ten zone run.
Yeah.
That is his because that's who at the very heart of what he does. Kyle Trask is so anti Dan Mullen because Trask is not someone who you're going to run 10 to 15 times a game at the quarterback position, which is what Dan really likes to do. So
he's capable of. 2015 they went all in on the pass. Obviously 2014 he revved it up a little bit more. He had to flip back to heavy run in 16 and 17 because of who he had at quarterback in Fitzgerald. He's going to let Trask throw the foot. I mean, he threw it 40 times.
Exactly. And that's where I think Florida
or 42, whatever
looks more like a college football playoff offense this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Dan's best offense is getting away from
Kyle
so
Pitts
much zone run.
Is a guy that can
best tight end in the game.
Yeah, he's a guy that can hurt Bama, Georgia, Clemson,
multiple
Ohio
draft
State.
sites, including obviously the big names like at ESPN, McShay, and all them. But guys that we use that are more analytical, like PFF and Draft Network. It's almost unanimously across the board. Kyle Pitts is the guy at tight end.
He's
for
phenomenal.
the NFL draft.
Phenomenal player.
He'll be fantastic to watch, fun to watch in that offense all year. But just the fact that they're utilizing their receivers in a way to get them the ball in space more, and just when the offense is moving, they are high powered. Mullen's problem is he wants to throttle down and choke the game at the very end.
Yeah,
he wants to slow everything, and it's the philosophy difference of a Leach and Kiffin, where they're like, no, we're just going to score. Because Kiffin's the same. Don't get it twisted. When Kiffin gets a lead at some point, if they get a lead against Kentucky, and knowing what Kentucky's offense is, they're not going to slow down and lengthen the game. They're going to or shorten the game. They're going to just go score more.
I think you're right on that.
He showed you Saturday. He's going to go for it on fourth down.
I did.
He's
going
to be aggressive. He's going to make plays.
I don't blame him, by the way. He should.
Yeah. Absolutely. Steal as many possessions as you can. And that's where I think Leach and Kiffin are different than a lot of the other SEC teams. It's what LSU was last year with Joe Brady and Joe Burrow. They're gonna go for the throat. They're not gonna sit on you and wait for you to give up. They're gonna just go for the throat and finish it.
Speaking of LSU, you know how they operate. They believe they're above.
They might beat Vanderbilt by 100.
They believe they're above losing to Mississippi State.
Well, they've only lost 3 times in 20 seasons, but it's 3-4 in the last 7 years. Don't call it a comeback.
So MSU has beat them in 14, 17, and 20.
Yes,
which is, as you said, very unusual.
Well, it's 3 and 20 seasons,
right?
Because before that, their last win was 99.
Yeah.
So in the 2 decades of
when
me
Rod
existing,
Gibson may or may not have gotten over
he got
the goal
in.
line.
Hey, what's the score in the record book?
Right.
He got in.
Right.
As a young, I'm 29, so basically my 2 decades of being old enough to care.
Okay.
Have been, we're 3 and 17. I don't remember the Rod Gibson game in 99. I've told this story before. My first real true memory is the Snow Bowl, like of actually watching a full game.
Was it really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of caring about a full game, because I was 10 when the Snow Bowl happened. Before that, like my parents took me to a couple games. Like I think we saw Peyton Manning play us at State. If that happened.
It did.
Yeah. We went to a Tennessee game.
1994.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it rained that day.
I was at the game.
I had a funnel cake. That's all I remember.
Okay. Nice.
So regardless, all that nonsense. Like
that was when stadiums were crappy and
and
ADs had no idea how to thank their
and tailgating
customers,
was nothing.
A la Larry Templeton.
Tailgating wasn't anything close
no.
to. Yeah. So, but like you look at what State has been against LSU. You can't fault LSU fans for looking down at Mississippi State. They're 3 and 17.
I'm just saying, when you looked at the reaction of LSU fans, they got beat and they got manhandled at times, and they got beat at the point of attack. Again, the physicality that Mississippi State brought to the table
was impressive.
It was,
and I think that's where LSU fans are frustrated. It's not so much yes, do they want the offense to be better? Of course, everyone does. But did they also expect a massive step back from last year? I think also yes on the offensive side. But what you didn't expect as an LSU fan is for your secondary to look like the JV secondary at like Pisgah. You know what I mean? Like they got embarrassed.
They did.
And Bo Pelini refused to change.
Right.
He said, no, we're going to go in man, and I'm going to make my own, because I only got 4 or 5 DBs left because they've opted out / gotten hurt. So I got like 4 or 5 guys. I'm going to make them sprint across the field, sideline to sideline, on all these mesh routes for 60 minutes. And I'm never going to sub anyone in because I don't have anybody, and I'm never going to change to zone to give them a break.
And Mike Leach said, thank you very much.
And the time of possession was in favor of Mississippi State, which people don't expect with the Mike Leach offense.
Right.
But if you look at the numbers,
sustained drives.
It's always that way.
Yeah.
He's always that way.
Yeah.
Because he throws handoffs, like the screen pass to Colin Hill.
Right.
These crossing routes where guys get 4 yards of separation because the DB's been chasing dudes for 25 minutes is a handoff.
Colin Hill is a happy man. He didn't know that football could be played like this. This whole thing is foreign to him. The ability to catch the ball and have a blast and have 158 yards receiving in his first game.
To touch the football without 7 dudes around him.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, for him.
And have to grind for every foot that you get in an SEC game.
I don't know that he got touched behind the line of scrimmage maybe one time on a draw play last Saturday. I mean, which is, so anti what Colin Hill's had through his first 3 seasons. It's remarkable.
Did you see this GIF picture that someone just sent us on the Mississippi Ag text line?
From Bill?
Mike Leach is the new Tiger King.
Yes, that's a good one.
He's with the LSU Tigers.
Yeah, somebody else sent us that earlier. Yeah, he is the Tiger King. As Strange Brew said on their funny sign, which they do every week for game day, Mississippi State just went down to Carroll Baskin University.
Oh wow!
I love that. It's a callback from
Did they really
callback
say that?
from the beginning of pandemics times.
Oh,
if you guys can remember that far back. Yeah, good times, man. I mean, look, the offense yesterday, it was really interesting to watch. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Florida, fantastic looking on offense.
Yeah.
Alabama looked pretty good.
Yeah,
it's Missouri. What are you going to do, right?
Right.
So the teams that we should talk about for the rest of this segment,
A&M and Georgia,
and Auburn
a little bit.
and Auburn and Kentucky.
Yeah,
4 teams that we kind of thought had potential opportunities to be good, and none of them looked impressive offensively. None of them. I would take LSU to outscore A&M easy right now after watching both games Saturday. I mean, A&M, it was 7 for the first time in SEC history. We had 2 games 7-5 at halftime.
Well, Jimbo tried to make Derek Mason look like a good coach.
Yeah,
which is tough to do. And guess who A&M has this weekend? Roll Tide,
Roll Tide,
and then Florida.
That's
before going to Mississippi State.
That's 1 and 2. I mean, Florida should absolutely curb stomp Texas A&M. After Alabama curb stomps Texas A&M.
You want to try to get in and out of these stadiums before the governors open it up more. That's something else to think about. Because Mississippi State, I mean, that was a huge advantage for them to not have to go through the LSU 12th man.
Yes.
The 105,000 crazy, drunk, people right on top of KJ Costello.
Yeah.
You want to try to get in and out of these stadiums before they open it up to some of the governors to 50% and maybe even 75% by the end of the year.
Which I could see.
Which Ole Miss and Mississippi State, Ole Miss could have a big-time home field advantage.
Come Egg
Governor
Bowl,
Reeves by then could totally open this thing up, and Ole Miss could have either 60-something or 50,000 people in the stadium in Vaught Hemingway for that game.
Texas, Georgia, Mississippi are the 3 states I immediately jump to that would be quickest to increase their capacity, which would obviously affect A&M big time, Georgia big time if they're trying to make a push for the SEC championship game, and then obviously Mississippi State and Ole Miss playing the Egg Bowl at the end of the year. That could be a huge opportunity for both those schools to have, well, Ole Miss to have a good home crowd, and then Mississippi State potentially around there to have a good home crowd.
That's right.
Too. So I like what you pointed out, though. A&M starts with 3 games, and you think, in theory, if this is A&M's year to shine, to be a dark horse, because that's what everybody thought with Kellen Mond being a 10th-year senior quarterback, it seems like. They pulled a tough start, but like you said, you'd rather pull those teams now than later when they're cooking with gas. Problem is, A&M's not only not cooking with gas, they got blown out the trailer, and they're sitting out in the front yard, and their trailer's on fire. I mean, A&M looked terrible. They didn't look like a team that didn't have spring practice. They looked like a team that just got together a week ago.
Well, that's Jimbo Fisher for you in that 75-page playbook.
Who were you more unimpressed with, Georgia or A&M? Because they both played terrible
A&M.
teams.
A&M.
Because Georgia's,
well, no, I don't know.
But Georgia's missing two core. I mean, Georgia lost Newman and Daniels right now, and so they're starting a freshman, and then they started a transfer junior.
They're starting a walk-on who out of high school looked like Kenny Powers' little brother.
Stetson Barrett the fourth.
Yes. Well, he sounds like the guy that's the Rush chairman.
That's facts. Absolutely.
Fidel.
K.A.
Yeah. So let's go to the phones. The Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. And we'll go to Sean. Sean, good morning. What's up?
Morning, fellas.
Hey, man.
Hey, want to talk about Zach Arnett first and then Leach real quick.
Okay.
I think he was confusing Brendan pretty well. Part of the reason why he was holding on to the ball, that unconventional three-man front and dropping back, all those DBs and linebackers just had him kind of confused and kind of contributed to the sacks, along with a good better front than probably expected. For Mississippi State, just some guys stepping up. I think Jordan Davis too had an awesome game. He got a tip on, or he held Brendan's arm back a little bit on that interception late.
Yeah.
And then Leach, man, that guy, he's just Leach, and that's the thing about it. He's sitting there with his 3x5 index card, and he's not wearing a headset. He's just calling the game as he sees it, and it's just incredible. I mean, honestly, I remember Mullen's first year, he had a chance to beat LSU and was down. Well, I don't know if he would have beaten them, but he had a chance to go ahead late. And we continued to keep the ball in Tyson, what's his name, the quarterback, Tyson
Lee.
Brown, I think. Tyson Lee, and wouldn't put the ball in Dixon's hands. And, Leach just kept going back to the one-on-one matchup that he knew he had an advantage. And on third and long, I mean, I was watching the game with a buddy, and the first time we got like 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 11, I was like, hey, man, what are we going to do? What's going to happen here? Can we get out of this? We throw a touchdown. And so it got to the point where I just kept saying that out of just sheer superstition. The rest of the game, we kept getting touchdowns. So it was just awesome Saturday.
Thanks for the call, Sean. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750.
When was the last time a Mississippi State, or even an Ole Miss team for that matter, against a top 5 opponent was 8 of 16 from third down? 50%. To put it in perspective, LSU.
Now, I don't know if Ole Miss did it in 2015 against Bama, but it doesn't happen often.
LSU's offense last year, which was the best we've ever seen in the SEC, hands down, bar none, statistically the most dominant offense we've ever seen in the SEC, was 48% on the season on third down.
Wow.
So just to give you some perspective on what it means to go 50% on third down. And as Sean said, KJ Costello had about 194 yards and 3 touchdowns and a pick on third down. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
190 something and 3 touchdowns on third down.
Well, he showed the ability to come back when everything was going against him.
When was the last time you felt good about it?
So he did not flinch whatsoever. I think what impressed me was when things really started to go sideways in the second half and everything was kind of unraveling around him, or, he was making some bad decisions too.
So it was a Mississippi State football game?
Yeah, but it wasn't. He and Leach just didn't check up, and they kept attacking. And so I think he kind of kept his rhythm and tempo even through turning the ball over.
Yeah. Well, that's the mentality of Mike Leach. And it's swing your sword.
You never saw Leach wear him out on the sideline. He was like, we're just going to keep playing. I get it. You're going against really talented players. You're making some mistakes. I'm asking you to throw the ball 60 times today. at some point.
Yeah.
We're not going to say this, but we expect you to turn it over, because when we do that much and we put that much on you and you put it in the air that often against these skilled athletes,
yes,
every now and then you go throw it to the wrong dude, but we're just not going to check up, and I'm not going to come over there to the bench and
wear you out,
start to get conservative and wear you out. Instead, I'm going to kind of leave you alone, and then we're going to keep rolling. That's hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have to give credit where it's due. When you look at what LSU did, the guys on defense who made the plays are superstars. Jacoby Stevens, number 7, he's their best defensive player now that because Stingley was out last Saturday. Jacoby Stevens was fantastic, and Ali Gay on the line. I mean, he's a first-round draft pick. They're going to make plays, like you said. When you're on offense as much as Mike Leach's team is on offense, you're not going to have a successful play every time. But you average nearly 9 yards a play for the day, and that puts you 4th in the country.
Really? Well, 623 yards for the MSU offense through the air. And a lot of the guys that caught the footballs, nobody knew who they were. I mean, Austin Williams, even Osiris Mitchell to a certain extent. The guy that I want to, we need to talk about is Colin Hill and what this could look like for him over the next 9 games, 10 with the bowl game if that lines up. What could he put up as far as receiving yards? What's realistic for him? Getting him out in space. He looks like he's lost weight. He looks quicker and faster. He
looks better than he's ever looked.
If that, it was so obvious that MSU team looked out of shape last year in the Kansas State game.
Yes, and the Tennessee game, I thought too. Yeah,
but the Kansas State game at home, Errol Thompson and Colin and several others looked like they were carrying 8, 10, 12. Some of them maybe even 15 pounds too much. It just wasn't the conditioning wasn't there. Totally different ball game this year. We're live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What impressed you the most in the league? And then who do you have the most questions about that you think maybe should be good? Let us know on the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. Am I going to Steven or Mike?
No, we can go Steven.
Steven, good morning. What's up? I got a minute.
Bo, what's going on?
Hey.
Hey, you just hit on something really, really big. It wasn't even what I was going to call about, but the conditioning. As soon as they stepped on the field and you looked at them, Kylan looked slimmer, Errol looked slimmer. Everybody looked slim and trim, and it was immediately noticeable on TV, and I think you saw that play out. But just what I wanted to bring up was, we made every excuse in the world for Jomo for the last 2 years about why we couldn't throw the ball. How it was Sunbelt receivers. I mean, this wide receiver crew got absolutely drugged through the mud the last 2 years, and it's pretty amazing. Leach shows up, and now all of a sudden they're world beaters. Just goes to show you a quarterback that can deliver the ball in a wide receiver system that is conducive to passing the ball. It's amazing what can happen. But anyway, great game, y'all. Y'all have a great day.
Hey, thanks for the call, Steven. Mike, if you can, hang in there with us. And we'll be back in just a minute. We've got Brad Edwards, College Game Day on ESPN Radio, coming up at 9:30 on the Parrish Canebrake Brewing guest line. Also want you to try Parrish Ghost in the Machine. Parrish Ghost in the Machine and Parrish Canebrake Beer. Hour number 3 coming up. The Out of Bounds Show brought to you by the Charbroiled Oysters, Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar on the Hilton Jackson property.